Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelly and I'm the owner and creator of the Vintage Hen and Chick, and a very special welcome if you're new. In today's video, I have 3 trash to treasure projects for you. We're going to be using some transfers, some decoupage paper, and Dixie Belle's rust patina technique. So if that's something that you're interested in, stick around. For project 1, I have this wooden cheese box that I picked up at the thrift store. It's in great condition. I'm just not a fan of the flowers on the box, and so I'm going to paint it. And so here I'm going to be painting it with 2 coats of Dixie Belle's silk in the color Chantilly, and I'm going to do 2 even coats on the entire top of the lid and around the edges of the lid. So for the bottom of the cheese box, I'm going to be painting it with Dixie Belle's chalk paint in the color chocolate. And I'm going to do 2 even coats of the chocolate. I'm going to do the bottom and the sides of the base of the cheese box, and then we'll let this dry. So now I'm going to be decoupaging some rice paper on the lid of the cheese box. And for this, I'm going to be using a piece of this Autumn Florals rice paper by Dixie Belle. And I'm just kind of figuring out what piece I want to put on my lid and kind of figuring out the size that I'm going to need. I want my rice paper to go over on the edge of the lid. I want to decoupage the edge of the lid. And so I'm just kind of figuring out the size that I need. And I'm going to cut off what I don't need. And then when I'm going to take my mister bottle, and I'm really going to mist my rice paper well. And what this does is it helps relax the fibers and it makes the rice paper a little stretchy. And so I'm going to be applying a coat of Dixie Belle Clear Coat in the satin finish over the top of the lid to start. And this is what I'm using as my decoupage medium. And then I'm going to lay my rice paper on the lid, get it positioned how I want. And as you can see, the paper is wet and it makes it easy to kind of maneuver and manipulate the rice paper around. So I'm going to smooth it out, and then I'm going to take my brush with the clear coat on it and go over the top of the lid. And so now it's time to decoupage the rice paper on the sides of the lid. And so I'm just going to go section by section, lifting the rice paper up, applying a section of the clear coat, laying that rice paper down, and then going over it with my brush. This cheese box lid is kind of thick and really textured, so I'm applying a really healthy coat of that clear coat as my decoupage medium. And so I'm just going to keep going section by section around the outside of the lid, decoupaging the rice paper on. Because I painted the base of the cheese box with a chalk paint, it does need to be sealed in, and so I'm just going to seal it in with one even coat of my satin clear coat. So my lid is now completely dry, and I am just taking my finger sander and sanding in a downward motion around the outside edge of the lid. And this is just really neatly cutting off all that excess rice paper. This is a great trick. The one thing you do want to remember is you want to make sure that you let your decoupage paper dry completely before you do this. Otherwise, you could rip it. So here is the completed cheese box. I love the way it turned out. I love that sunflower yellow and the purple and the brown, how all those colors go so nicely together. Let me know in the comments what you think. For project number 2, I'm going to be upcycling a sewing drawer. And if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know I love to upcycle sewing drawers, and I've done several of them. And so the first thing that I always do with these old sewing drawers is I really give them a good cleaning with some Dixie Belle White Lightning. A lot of times they are really grody and grungy, and they need to be cleaned thoroughly. And so now I'm going to give the entire sewing drawer 2 even coats of Dixie Belle Caviar chalk paint. I'm going to do the inside, the outside, and the bottom. So my paint is completely dry, and now I'm going to add a transfer to the sewing drawer, and I'm going to be using the IOD Saint Germain transfer. I think this transfer looks absolutely gorgeous on black paint. Now, I am showing that I'm out of stock of the Saint Germain transfer on my website. They've been out of stock for a really long time with IOD, but they are now back in stock. I have reordered, and they will be here very, very soon. So check back often if you want to use this transfer. I do have many other beautiful transfers on my website, so check it out at thevintagehenandchick.com. And what I did is I just cut out a piece of transfer that fit each side of the sewing box. And then I laid the transfer down, and now I'm using my transfer tool to rub over the transfer to get it adhered to my sewing box. And then I just start peeling up from one end of the transfer, working from one side to the next. As I'm rubbing, I'm peeling up, and that transfer is sticking to my sewing drawer. Once I get that transfer on the sewing drawer, I'm going to take the transfer vellum and I'm going to rub it over the transfer to burnish it in. And this just helps make sure that there's no bubbles or wrinkles or loose pieces on your transfer. So I'm going to continue to apply the transfers around the rest of the sewing drawer, and then we'll move on to the next step. So I have my transfers applied all around the outside of the sewing drawer, and now my chalk paint and my transfers need to be sealed in. And so I'm going to be doing one even coat of my Dixie Belle clear coat in the flat finish. I wanted a matte look for this sewing drawer, and so I wanted to use the flat. And so I'm going to do one even coat on the entire drawer. The inside, the outside, the edges, and the bottom. There is some beautiful detail on the front of my sewing drawer, and I want to highlight that. So I'm going to be using the Sweet Pickins white beeswax. And so I'm just going to take a paper towel, apply the beeswax just over the front of the drawer where that detail is, and then buff it back with my paper towel. And as you can see, that white wax just settles into those details and highlights them beautifully. So I'm just going to keep rubbing and buffing until I get the look that I want with my beeswax. I think that Saint Germain transfer looks so beautiful on that black paint. Let me know what you think in the comments. I didn't show this on film, but I did add a really pretty white knob onto the sewing drawer. I picked this up at Walmart, I believe, and I'll see if I can find the link for it and I'll post it in the description box below. Comment below, let me know what you think of how this sewing drawer turned out. For project number 3, I have this glass vase that I'm going to be painting, and I'm going to start out by adding 2 coats of Dixie Belle's Slick Stick to the glass. Now what the Slick Stick is going to do is it's going to act as a primer and a coat of protection, so that way the paint that I'm putting on top of this Slick Stick isn't going to scratch off when we're all done. Now the Slick Stick is an older product from Dixie Belle. I'm using up what I have, but they currently have a newer product which is called Bonding Boss, and it does the same thing. It's the Slick Stick and a bonding primer in one. So anytime that you're going to be painting glass or metal, it's a really good idea to use the Dixie Belle Bonding Boss first. And so I'm going to do 2 coats, and I'm going to let it dry for 24 hours before I apply my next coat, which is the paint. So my primer coat has completely dried. I did let it dry for 24 hours and I did do 2 coats. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a coat of Dixie Belle's Bluegrass, which is a chalk paint. And I'm going to do 1 coat first and let it dry completely. And then once the first coat is dry, I'm going to come back and do a second coat. And then I'm going to add another color in and blend them together. So my first coat of Bluegrass is dry, and now I'm going to add a second coat. And while the second coat is still wet, I'm going to go in with my Dixie Belle Buttercream chalk paint and just kind of add it here and there in sections. And then I'm going to take my Dixie Belle French tip brush and kind of stipple it all over my vase. What I want is I want the Bluegrass and the Buttercream to blend all together and make kind of a textured look on the vase, and I want to create a little bit of dimension. So here I am taking my buttercream. I'm going to apply it, like I said, just in random spots all over the vase while the Bluegrass is still wet, and then I'll take my French tip brush and stipple it all over the vase until I get the look that I'm going for. So my paint has completely dried on my vase, and now I'm going to go in with my Dixie Belle Iron Patina paint. And I'm going to take a little sponge dauber. I get these on Amazon, and I'm going to just kind of apply the Iron Patina paint randomly all over the vase. What the sponge dauber is going to do is it's also going to add a little bit of texture to wherever I'm applying that Iron Patina paint. Now there's no rhyme or reason to where I'm applying it. I'm just putting it in random spots. And then once I have the Iron Patina paint applied where I want it to go, then I'm going to take my Dixie Belle Green Patina spray. And on the spray bottle there is a, you could turn it to either spray or stream. And I'm going to use the spray. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it on the wet Iron Patina paint. Whenever you're using the patina products, you want to put your spray on the patina paint while it's wet. And so I'm going to take my bottle here and just spray it all over the vase wherever I have the iron patina paint. Once I have my patina spray sprayed all over my vase, then I'm going to set it aside overnight. It usually takes about 6 hours for your chemical reaction with the patina paint and the spray. So I let my vase dry overnight, and as you can see, I have a beautiful patina finish on the vase. And now it's time to seal it in, and I'm going to be using my Dixie Belle Gator Hide to seal everything in. And Dixie Belle's Gator Hide is their absolute toughest top coat. It's very durable, it's going to create a rock hard finish, and it's also water repellent. And so I'm going to give one even coat of the gator hide over the entire vase and then let that dry completely. I love how this vase turned out, and I hope you do too. Let me know in the comments if you would try the Dixie Belle Patina products on any of your projects. Thank you so much for watching today's video. All the products that I used in today's projects are available on my website at thevintagehenandchick.com. And if you want to know exactly what supplies you need and skip the ones you don't, make sure to grab your copy of the Instant DIY Supply Guide, and I will link that below. I will be back next week with another video, so I'll see you then.